Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are once again talking about Parler. I did a video on them yesterday. Basically, they got hacked and all of their data essentially got copied out and replicated by a third party, and now everybody is scrambling. The data is starting to come in and be pieced together, and it is painting a not good picture for Parler users. Now, there are multiple sources reporting on this, but Gizmodo did one heck of a job putting a lot of this together and did their homework. And so I am cribbing very heavily from there, but we are going to see a lot of this data come out, and I think by virtue of that, we are going to see a lot of arrests. Now, if you saw my video or podcast yesterday, you know that I talked to a state's attorney criminal prosecutor that basically said, yeah, this intel is actionable, providing they can verify it. And sure enough, here we are. Now, according to essentially the GPS metadata that was linked to all of the videos that were posted to Parler the day of this insurrection at the Capitol, several users of Parler appear to be among this horde of rioters that managed to basically breach and get very deep inside the U.S. Capitol building into areas that are normally restricted to the general public. Now, the data was obtained, as I mentioned yesterday, by a computer hacker ahead of Parler's shutdown that happened this past Monday, and this is offering what Gizmodo calls a bird's eye view of its users swarming the Capitol. Now, GPS coordinates taken from 618 Parler videos analyzed by Gizmodo has already basically been sought after by the FBI, and it is part of their sweeping nationwide search for potential suspects, at least 20 of whom are already in custody. And I read multiple articles on the various people that have been caught and they're starting to get identified, including the guy that was carrying zip ties, the guy that had the Camp Auschwitz sweater on, my God, the guy that was sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk, and on and on and on. These people are being identified. The FBI is very good at their job. They are going to be relentless. One of those individuals even killed themselves today, apparently after being identified. And so I'm still getting news on that. But Gizmodo, to their credit, has mapped nearly 70,000 geolocated Parler posts and isolated. They did this yesterday, and they isolated hundreds of these posts published on January 6th near the Capitol. Now, the data is showing that Parler users were posting throughout the day, documenting their march from the National Mall all the way down to Capitol Hill, where obviously this insurrection occurred. Now, here's the caveat with all of the data that Gizmodo and others are finding. The precise location of Parler users inside the building is a bit difficult to essentially pinpoint. The coordinates do not reveal which floor they are on, for example, and also the data basically only includes Parler users who posted videos taken on January 6th, and the coordinates themselves are only accurate to about 12 yards or 11 meters. Now, Gizmodo shows coordinates just south of the Capitol's Rotunda Center on the map, and essentially Gizmodo verified this, that it shows rioters, the video itself shows rioters shouting obscenities at basically about Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, and obviously they eventually breached that. Other coordinates that were found indicated that videos captured were captured in adjacent offices, were in stairwells, in hallways that were leading to both the House and the Senate chamber. So the coordinates basically of the video, not to mention the video itself, basically allows us to see what floor they're on, and the GPS proves that the video was there, and that obviously was taken live and exported right out of Parler. A second video successfully linked to the Parler data belongs to a rioter who filmed a mob in the rotunda chanting, "Whose house? Our house," essentially while being right on the side of the Senate building. I mean, and on and on and on. Other coordinates from Parler point to users roaming the north side of the building, near the Senate chamber, near the leadership offices and the press gallery, and depending on what floor they were on, they were either in the leadership offices or the press gallery. Other location data from outside the Capitol actually follows a precise route the crowd took from the National Mall shortly after the speech by President Trump, in which he urged supporters to, quote, fight like hell, saying that basically they would take back the country. So obviously that is a huge, huge issue. Now, the FBI has declined to provide any specifics about its materials that it's collecting as part of its ongoing investigation. That is standard operating procedures. Investigators did, however, seek to access the Parler GPS data on Monday, according to sources basically close to this investigation. Now, if anything, I think this shows that even websites that claim total privacy while giving you complete freedom of speech are collecting a ton of data on you. Your phone is transmitting and tagging meta info, basically metadata info, into pictures and videos, not to mention constantly transmitting your cellular carrier and GPS. Now, I've seen multiple videos as I've been reviewing this entire thing where people inside the building are basically saying, hey, do you have cell phone signal? I don't have cell phone signal, which essentially means, or we believe, that the local law enforcement, the Capitol Police, and start engaging stingrays, essentially anti-cell phone, to start dropping cellular connection. But obviously, if it's pinging the tower, it's just not allowing the data to move. So we're still getting GPS signal as well. I mean, and on and on and on. Your phones are just a sea of sensors, a sea of data that is sending it to God knows where. In this case, Parler, and while they may not be data mining you on the back end, at least we presume the same way a Facebook is, they're still getting a ton of information that is now actionable in a court of law. I had that discussion yesterday. Now, I also get why people would live stream themselves in this situation. I really thought this one through, and I think it's this. If you fully believe that this was actually a revolution and that what you were doing was the right side of history, that you were on the right side of history, you'd either want to document this event for historical purposes or at least prove that you were there, part of the revolution that changed the country for what I presume you believe is good. This is going to get worse before it gets better. And so I think we all have to be vigilant with this kind of stuff, but understand that this information proves a lot of the narrative of what actually happened, because not do we just have these videos that can show us timestamps, especially let's say they're watching the president or somebody else on stage and then walking to the Capitol, and back and forth, but we can see when these people started breaching the Capitol and start syncing it up versus, let's say, peaceful protesters that marched from one area to the other versus violent extremists that didn't. So I think this is a very serious thing. It's still being parsed out. More data is gonna be coming out with this. I will obviously keep you involved in this, as I do my own research and homework, as I am starting to track a lot of these groups above and beyond some of the other research we do in the dark web and everything else. But I think this is not going away anytime soon. But I promise I'm going to continue to bring you as balanced information and as accurate information as I can on this, while bringing you stories outside of this Capitol mess, because there are other things going on that I want to talk about, like Facebook and WhatsApp and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I promise you, we'll get to all of it here. But right now, we have some rather pressing news, and so this has got to come first, and hopefully everybody out there is going to be safe and secure through the next week or two as we get through this inauguration. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well, and as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, everyone.